And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
No.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you.
The dream of controlling the weather is as strong as ever it was. Now, at last, have we found a scientific key to open up the skies? The technique is called cloud seeding, and the aim is to trigger an increase in rain or snowfall. Aircraft spray clouds with microscopic particles of silver iodide. Ice crystals collect around these particles, grow larger, and fall as rain or snow. It works in the laboratory. Ice crystals do form as a tiny cloud is seeded. In a real cloud, depending on the temperature, snow or rain should soon follow. During the Vietnam War, Americans were prepared to consider almost any scheme which promised quick, technological solutions to their military problems. Could they bring the enemy's supply columns slithering to a stop? They flew more than 2,000 cloud seeding missions over the Ho Chi Minh Trail trying to find out.
During the Vietnam War, the United States seeded the clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which was a path that the North Vietnamese took down to South Vietnam to invade the country. And they thought they would make it muddier, make it harder for them to bring their supplies in. And as it was pointed out, none of our spies had rain gauges, so we don't really know whether it worked, but it was done anyway in the belief that it would work.
One day, it started raining, and it didn't quit for 4 months. We've been through every kind of rain there is. A little bit of stinging rain, and big old fat rain. Rain that flew in sideways, and sometimes rain even seemed to come straight up from underneath. Shoot, it even rained at night.
Hey, Forrest,
Hey, Bubba.
I'm gonna lean up against you. You just lean right back against me. This way we don't have to sleep with our heads in the mud.
Tornadoes and hurricanes were other obvious targets for weather modifiers. If cloud seeding made them give up their energy before they struck, lives and property would be spared.
There was a plan called Project Storm Fury, and the idea was to go and seed the clouds just outside the eye of the hurricane, because that's where the strongest winds are. And if you can seed them and make it rain, that will take the energy out of these winds and make the eye get bigger, and then the maximum winds will be less.
Storm Fury, a project set up in 1962, was beset by the problems which plague all attempts to modify the weather. How to be sure that what happened wouldn't have happened anyhow, and how to control the forces which may be unleashed.
What if we had seeded a cloud, a hurricane, and it all of a sudden turned and went right over Havana? What if it would have done that anyway? Hurricanes are so variable that you have to seed a lot of them and see how a lot of them change, and take ones that you don't seed and compare them to. And that's the same problem with clouds. Clouds are so variable that if you do it once and it grows, you can't tell whether it might not have done that anyway.
Does cloud seeding work? It's too soon to tell with certainty, but the stakes are so high that no one wants to give up yet.
In the United States, copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material under certain limited circumstances without requiring permission from the owner. Under the law, determinations of fair use take into account the purpose of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the work used in relation to the work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market for the copyrighted work. Other jurisdictions may have similar copyright provisions protecting fair use or fair dealing. If you are uncertain as to whether a specific use qualifies as a fair use, you should consult a qualified copyright attorney. You have the right to take it